I never meet cute girls. It's always guys being like, dude, love your truck.
Yeah, right.
And then I'm like, thanks, man. You know, kind of situation. And then finally yesterday, these pretty cute girls were like, yo, like, what time is coffee? And I was like, dude, now?
Right now.
Right now. Literally right now.
Yeah.
It's like cheers, mate.
Campers Mobile Podcast Studio and Community Development Center. This is the Small Truck Campers Podcast, where we aim to build community, share inspiration, and encourage others. We got a lot of great things to cover out in this episode, so why don't you grab your favorite campfire beverage and let's hit the road. All right, welcome to another awesome episode of the Small Truck Campers Podcast. Currently, I'm in the back of a mid-90s Land Cruiser.
Yep, that's accurate.
And we're at the beach here. We're recording this one truly mobile, which I'm pretty stoked about. First mobile podcast experience. And I'm sitting next to David here in his Land Cruiser camper that I spotted about 2 weeks ago. We made some time, come down, have a conversation. So, David, thanks so much for joining me on this episode of the Small Truck Campers Podcast.
Yeah, man, I'm stoked. I've seen you on Instagram for a while, and I've been following you for a while. So I was stoked when you reached out through Instagram. I was actually going to ask you, how did you find me on Instagram? Did you?
Someone sent me your rig, just
wow.
DM me a rig, like, dude, check this thing out. And then I think I did a little bit of creeping and realized you're in the Bay Area.
Oh.
So I was like, dude, we got to meet up.
Perfect.
I think I solicited for some photos of the rig, and then, yeah, now here we are down at the beach recording a podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, good things happen that way, I think.
Yeah. I like using using social media for good and to meet up and to build these communities out there. And it's pretty cool. Now we're sitting in the back of your epic camper, which we have a lot to cover on this episode. So
thanks.
Why don't we get into it? So where did you grow up, and what activities did you do growing up, and kind of how did that segue into traveling and camping?
Well, I'm from Medellin, Colombia. So I'm from South America. I grew up in Medellin like in the 90s. Which I'm sure everybody knows was a bit rough. I didn't really kind of ever see anything happen more than just like you would hear like car bombs go on like here and there, and sometimes you would see like dead people on the street when you're like on the bus ride to school and stuff. But it was so mundane that it didn't really affect you as you would think, looking at it like in hindsight. And then my parents, and I think everybody in the country, was really good at just kind of like, that was just how you live. So you still played, games on the streets every day when I would come back from school and like have a bike and bike around the city and whatever. So I never felt unsafe, to be completely honest. But it definitely gave you like you're kind of always looking behind your back, like you're always on edge in a way. And I remember noticing that a lot when so as I was saying, I grew up there since I was little. And then when I was 13, my dad, which is he's an engineer, he got a job offer here in the Bay Area. So we ended up moving to Santa Cruz, actually, where we are right now. Just because he got a job, we all came, sister, mom, and we all moved here. My dad loved Santa Cruz. We lived in the basement of a house behind the Starving Musician on Ocean Street. That was like 2000. I don't even know. That was a long time ago. And I remember being in Santa Cruz and then seeing someone get off their car and not lock it. And I'm like, yo, you got to lock your car. And they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, yeah, someone's going to get in the car. And they're like, no, that doesn't happen here. And like houses, I would go to friends' houses and knock on the door and they'd be like, oh, it's unlocked. I was like, I would leave my bike outside and it would be there the next day. I'm like, dude, this is wild. Like, this is really weird. Remember going into the ocean and the ocean being cold, and I didn't understand that there was cold oceans in the world because I just only been to Colombia and the Caribbean, and it was just interesting to kind of have that change. And I think that really kind of started me wanting to see the world because it's so different from Colombia. And don't get me wrong, Colombia is the most beautiful country I've ever been to. The nicest people, the warmest. Now that we're doing so much better, we're really, because we've seen the other side, and now we're like on the other side of the rainbow. So we're very grateful for that, and I think it kind of shows in the people. But just kind of grew up that way. I did like some team sports, like I did soccer, and I never really liked that. I did basketball, which was okay at, but I was really fat when I was little, so I couldn't really move much. And then I got to Santa Cruz, and everyone was a skateboarder, so I started skating, and then my knees started getting all bad, and then the doctor was like, oh, you're too fat, like you gotta swim, like your knees can't take your weight. And I was like, oh, I just go into surfing. And I had a little camera, I recorded people. It was pre-YouTube, so recorded some people surfing, see how they did it, and bought myself a surfboard at Costco and went out of Cowell's, broke a fin first day, and somehow learned how to surf. And that really dictated my life. Like that's what got me into traveling. Just wanting, like when I learned how to surf and just fell in love with the ocean, obviously got way fitter. I understood that, you know, what you put in your body really shows in your ability to do whatever you want. The ocean taught me to just be very calm and understand that you can't really control much in life. You just kind of have to be there and just enjoy what comes at you and be able to, I don't know, kind of deal with whatever that is through the ocean and the people and whatnot. And then around there, I moved back to Colombia after high school here because university in the United States is expensive.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Harbor High.
Okay. Right up the road.
Man, right up the road.
Cool.
Yeah, and it was really cool. Like I was so obsessed with surfing. I would literally come to surf. I lived in Capitola. I moved a bunch when I was here in Santa Cruz, and then I would go surfing at like 5:30 in the morning in the summer, and then go to school with my wetsuit on my bike, have the first class with my wetsuit on, and then after class take it off. Like I was obsessed with surfing when I was younger.
Oh yeah.
And then anyway, so then I ended up moving back to Colombia when I was 17, studied engineering in Medellin, mechatronic engineering.
Wow.
Thanks. Just because I like math and science and stuff, and I've always been painting. My dad's a painter as well, and I've always been kind of in the arts, but I don't know, I just really like math. So I went into that, and then within the first year, my really good friend from here, Timmy, which I love, he was like, yo, I'll fly to Colombia and we'll find some waves. This is 20 years ago. I was like, bro, we can go try. I have no idea if there's any waves. And he did, and then we went on like a 2-month camping trip, just walking down the beach and trying to find waves and running away from the gorillas whenever they showed up and being very low key.
Gorillas, like the animal?
No, like guerrilla warfare.
Oh.
Like the bad guys.
Yeah, dang.
Yeah, like to not get kidnapped. Because he's a gringo. So
Oh man.
it wasn't a good time. I remember he telling me, I don't know if this story is true, but I remember him telling me that his mom tried to buy him the ticket that he had gotten to go to Colombia and give him like an extra couple of grand so he wouldn't come because he was just gnarly. But he came. So then we went through surfing around the Caribbean, and that's when I was like, wow, this is like traveling sick. And that was on my own country.
Yeah.
That's where I started getting into photography. I'm a professional photography and a storytelling producer. So I got into photography through that while I was going to university in engineering. And then I was just like, I love the Caribbean of Colombia so much. The area is called Tayrona, and it's honestly heaven on earth. It's snow-capped mountains that melt into these huge rivers that go into the ocean. It's the only snow-capped mountain. It's the only mountain range in South America that's not part of Andes Mountains. There's like a bunch of indigenous people there, and it's this microclimate because of the mountain. It's the tallest mountain with respect to the distance from the ocean in the world. I think it's like 17,000 feet of elevation.
Wow.
And it's only 60 miles from the beach, and it's like right there. And
Crazy.
it's really like like the books, you know? And I loved it so much. The waves are kind of shitty, to be honest, but I I was like, wow, this is so cool. But I wanna know if I think it's cool just because this is the only thing that I know, or if it's actually something that I love. So I just started traveling to figure that out.
Wow. Did you finish your degree?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a master's in mechatronic engineering.
Wow.
Yeah. And then never really did actually. I worked for like a year when I graduated because you have to do your internship, and then they kind of kept me for a little bit doing like I don't know what that was. It was like whatever, just engineering. And then my surfboard was dusty. My camera didn't have battery in it. And I was just like, what do I do in my life? Bear in mind, I was like 22 at the time. And then I just went to work and I was like, guys, I'm done. Like, I'm quitting. And then my boss was like, what are you talking about? I was like, dude, I just want to go surfing. Like, I just want to, I don't know. Like,
Was this in Colombia?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just basically like, I bought all these things and I'm not using them. Like, I'm making these money because you're paying me, but then I bought all these things and they're all new. So like, why am I buying them for?
Totally.
At least I'll try to like become a photographer and see how it goes. And then it did. And then it worked out. I started doing a lot of music photography because my friends were musicians, and I just kind of always had a camera with me. And I'm not going to say I was good when I started, but I definitely, did the thing and asked for help and had great friends and mentors that were really good at it. And then I built a career around photography, had a company that was a production company in Colombia that eventually sold. But then in the interim of all those things, I wanted to travel more. And just for a little bit of context, when you are Colombian, your passport is no good. Like, nobody wants you in their country. It's really hard to travel anywhere. You have to apply for visas. You have to wait. You have to pay. You are treated like a second-class citizen. Like, you arrive at airports and they're like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you like? Do you have any money? Are you gonna stay here?" It's not the nicest feeling in the world.
Yeah.
So I hadn't really traveled, let's say, to Europe because you needed this gnarly visa. And then I think when I was like 26, the laws changed or whatever, politically. And they're like, oh, you don't need a visa anymore. And then I just started going to Europe. So
Okay. Nice.
Went to Portugal, went through the Mediterranean, all over landing in different types of vehicles. And
Wow.
And that's when it really kind of clicked. I had bought a Trooper, a Isuzu Trooper. That was my first car that I bought in Colombia. Just because Colombia has dirt roads, so you need something to get to places.
Sure.
In general.
Yeah.
And then I kind of wanted to make it look cool, and there wasn't really anything that I could, like, I don't know, just like lift it or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
And then everything that I could find was for 70 series Land Cruisers. So I was like, maybe I should just buy a Land Cruiser. I didn't really know anything about cars.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the price and I was like, well, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
So I just kind of saved for a year, sold the car, eventually got a 70 series, which I wish I still had. And
That's like the boxy version?
Yeah, it's the boxy version. It's basically the war version of an 80 series.
Got it.
It's like, it's more beefy. It's just leaf springs everywhere. It's really uncomfortable to drive, to be completely honest, but it's bulletproof.
It looks cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And those things look, that's, to me, is a produced Toyota for sure.
100%.
But then I started that was just my car. And then I started shooting for Red Bull. I started shooting for like extreme sport brands, for giant bicycles. Because I was kind of always in these weird locations because looking for surf. And then brands saw that and they're like, oh, I want to shoot there. And I was like, oh, I know how to get there.
Yeah.
And I know how to shoot. And I want to shoot extreme sports because I'm a surfer. So that really kind of made it happen. And then I would like go scouting and I would think, well, I kind of want to stay here because this place is cool. So then I started sleeping in a tent outside of my car like I did with my friend Tim when we were just surfing on the Caribbean. I was 25 at the time. And then I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I can sleep in my car. So then I just like took all the chairs out and just put like an inflatable mattress. I was like, oh, but all my stuff is on my
Sure.
mattress. So maybe I want a box underneath to like put stuff underneath. At that point, overlanding started becoming a thing. I started seeing all the Australian stuff. Venezuela is right next door. So they had their Anaconda tents, but it was way too expensive. So I was like, I can't buy that. Like I'm already sleeping in my car. Like it's already, working.
Yeah.
But without knowing it, I started becoming this overlanding person.
Mm-hmm.
When I say overlanding, I mean as in like it's an adjective you can use to describe yourself. Before that, you're just a weird person that goes in their car and sleeps in it for no reason.
Sure. Yeah. Before it was like van life before it was glamorous.
Yeah, way before it was glamorous.
Yeah, because I always tell people like I was broke during the wrong time. Like I was broke too early.
Yeah.
Because now, let's give these guys a second.
Yeah.
But
can you hear them on your mic?
Can you?
I don't know. I think so.
We'll give it 1 second. They're suiting up.
Sorry, guys. We're actually recording these live in
Yeah.
the middle of a parking lot in front of a wave. So
Yeah.
it's real life.
Whatever. Yeah, I always tell people I was like broke too early in life because I was broke before living in a van was cool.
Yeah.
And I had friends that would live in vans.
Yeah.
To save money at the parking lot near the beach. And it was before Instagram and stuff. And I'm like, dang it, dude, if I was only broke like 5 years later, then I could actually make it work for me instead of trying to be this outcast, like this weird guy in society that's like, who's living in a van down at the beach, And nowadays it's glamorized.
Yeah, it's really cool. And it's expensive.
Now it can be.
It can be, yeah. Like the ones that are glamorized are expensive.
Totally.
Because like that, I want to make that for sure, that point. Like when I was doing it in my car, I had a house and like a normal life in Medellin. My car was my vessel to go places.
Sure.
And I just wanted to travel. So once I got to a place, I didn't need to come back. Cause like I can stay here for another week till I get another job because I'm a freelance photographer. Like or I can have my meetings on my phone, like before nomadic was a thing. I still remember when someone in London called me a digital nomad, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" Like, yeah, because you can work remote and be on your phone. It's
Just
like,
a huge shout out to Capri Camper for making this podcast possible. Having this mobile podcast studio is just a perfect way to have it set up, ready to roll, invite awesome guests onto the show, and I get to enjoy the craftsmanship, how well this thing is built, and I love just looking around. It's so inspiring. It really makes for a good show. So thanks to Capri Camper. If you're interested in the Capri Camper or you're considering a Capri Camper, feel free to hit me up. I did a full walk around tour with the owners. I had a podcast on with the owners as well, and I got to really learn the ins and outs of how Capri Campers are made. So if you're considering a hard-sided camper for your small truck, Capri Camper is where I would start my search. If you got any questions, feel free to DM or email me. Be happy to chat with you about them because they make some really great products for a variety of trucks. And they're stylish, they're comfortable, they're insulated, they're warm, and they're timeless, to be honest with you. No one else is doing what they're doing. So check out Capri Camper, or if you got any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or a DM and we can chat.
David. Like you can put whatever tag you want around it.
Sure.
You can call me an engineer, you can call me a photographer, you can call me over. I'm just me. Like you can get to know whichever version of that you want. But anyway, to just kind of fast forward a little bit, I was doing this whole car thing to get to locations and surfing as well. Like I would go to the Caribbean, explore more beaches, and it would be crazy, man. Like I had a projector and we would just mob down the Caribbean and find a wave and surf and then just party. People would show up, would watch a movie. I have like photos of my friends like woken up on the side of my car with like, that just thrown up all night because we partied so hard and just we didn't care. And there was no one there. It was just like, I don't know. It was just fun. And then also kind of being a professional, owning a company, doing productions, going to, big meetings, try to get budgets to film different things, shorts, TV commercials, whatever, in the creative kind of imaging space, which was beautiful. I love kind of that moment in my life. And then, I started wanting to travel more abroad and started going to Europe. But then I remember I had this great trip that was like, I wanted to see Portugal. So I went there and I just rented like a small car.
Sure. Yeah, that's what they have over there.
Yeah, like whatever.
Like a 2-door hatchback or something.
Exactly. Second day there, all my windows got busted. All my stuff got stolen. All my surfboards, my wetsuit, everything.
Dang.
But at that time, I had a distribution company in Colombia called LSD, Lion Surf Division. Yeah, I came up with the name with a cousin of mine while we were under the influence. And then I just like distribute FCS, rusty surfboards, sticky bump wax in Colombia. Granted that the market there is very small. So we're like, the entire country is like a small surf store in Santa Cruz.
Got it. Yeah.
But it's just fun. Like you couldn't get anything. Just for context, because it's really hard for me to sometimes explain what Colombia was like. You couldn't buy board shorts. There wasn't any, someone had to bring them to you from the US.
Wow.
And this was 16, 17 years ago. It's not like in the 80s. You can get wax, you can get fins, you can get leashes. And since I was always coming to the US because I was working here because I have a green card, working in Colombia, like doing all these things, I would just kind of bring it. And then once I started understanding business, I was like, I could just become a distributor.
Mm-hmm.
And it would literally be like, I would go on the FCS side and like look for phone number and just call like, yo, I want to be the distributor for Colombia.
Yeah, and they didn't have anybody, so they're like, why not?
They're like, who are you? Come to our office.
Yeah.
Cool, I'm here in San Clemente. Okay, great, come. And then I'd be like, what's up? Like, I'm just some kid that wants to sell your stuff.
Nice.
And they'd be like, okay, cool. So
Wow.
I started having that in Colombia, just kind of surfing and doing all these things. So when I went to Europe, that was like my first international trip, not in the US or the Americas. Got all my stuff stolen in the car in Lisbon. I want to say though, I love Lisbon. People are amazing. I was just an idiot. I left all my stuff. It was just dumb.
Yeah.
But then I made one call. I was like, yo, do you know, I called FCS, I called all these people. I was like, hey, do you have any at shop you guys work with? Maybe I can get like a discount because I need to buy $5,000 worth of stuff.
Wow.
And they were like, oh, dude, yeah, just go to our distributor there. And I would call them, and Portuguese people, they'd be like, oh, I'm so sad this happened. You come to our factory, like come to the Pukas factory that they have one in Lisbon. And they're like, choose whatever board you want, 70% off. Choose whatever's anything. Even brands that I didn't have any relationship with, because they're obviously very big distributors, they're just like, go into a warehouse, grab whatever you want.
Wow.
Whatever you want. Like, and I just went from having nothing to having the best of everything. Obviously got another car because that one was totaled because of all the windows. And then I just drove around the entire coast for 2 months just surfing.
Woo.
Yeah. In the tiniest car with my girlfriend. And we had surfboards in between each
Totally.
other. So she hated it.
Yeah.
Because we were driving and she would talk to me. She couldn't even see me. She's like, this is horrible.
What you got to do when you travel?
Yeah, exactly. So, so that was like a really fun experience with traveling, and really kind of cemented the love of having a vehicle as a way to kind of mingle yourself in a community, because it really allows you to become part of the culture. You can stop wherever you want. You can go wherever you want. If you really want to. Like, I slept in that car for a couple of nights just because, you know, we stayed at the beach too long drinking wine, and we're like, well, just sleep here and it's fine. So yeah.
Awesome.
It's been good.
That sounds great. Mechanical engineer, distributor for surf companies, photographer, video. I mean, you done it all and that was only in like what, in your 20s?
That was in my 20s. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Cause then I turned 30 in the Caribbean, in my 30s now. I did that. Then I did another trip around the Mediterranean. That was kind of the same thing. I rented a car in I'm blanking on the name of this town in Spain on the coast, Barcelona.
Yeah.
And then I drove all the way to Florence in Italy.
Cool.
But obviously it's the Mediterranean. They don't really have surf. That one was really just eating really good pasta and like having really good wine and really good coffee. And I had a girlfriend at the time that was amazing. And we just kind of did that trip together and just kind of went around literally. Like I remember telling her, we're going to get a ticket to get there, a ticket to leave, and then 2 nights in an Airbnb the day that we get there, and 2 nights at the Airbnb the day that we leave. And we have 2 months in between, and I don't want to book anything. Because that's the beauty of traveling now, is you can find so much on your phone that I was like, I don't know where I want to stay because I don't know what the locals think. So we would literally go to like a coffee shop, become friends with, you know, some 70-year-old. And we'd be like, what's there to do around here in Barcelona? He's like, oh, I'm from that little town an hour away. You should go. It's really pretty. My son lives there. You should meet him. And then we would go there, meet the son. He'd be super nice. And then, oh, cool. Let's find an Airbnb here. Boom. 2 nights. Like, we're staying here. And then we did the entire trip that way.
That's the magic of getting in the culture, meeting people. And for that reason, I don't really like look at Yelp reviews or like reviews where people stay or eat, because like my expectation is to not go to the popular restaurant, or like not go to like the best restaurant in town. Go to the mom and pop shop, meet the locals, get that like that's like the magic of traveling. Well, and 100%. you can't plan for it to happen. You have to like let it happen. And that's cool. That's cool. You like harness that energy and just rode with it for 2 months.
Yeah. And it came from like those times that I was, as I was saying, like I was surfing the Caribbean. We didn't know where to go. We were literally just like sleeping in the tent. Every night we got wet.
Yeah.
It took me like a month to learn how to make a fire. just like, I remember burning through so much toilet paper trying to make fires back then. I'm good at it now, but then with that, and then having a car, like you have a car, you can literally turn it on and go anywhere you want.
Totally.
You will never get wet. Like it's such a, it makes everything so easy if you let it, that you can't really do that. Like worst case scenario, you go to that town, you don't find anywhere to sleep, you drive 2 hours to Lisbon, to the big town, or to Barcelona or whatever. Like you will find a spot. So that I really got taught that life has a way of like working out if you allow it to do its thing. So we would do trips like that. And I just, once I started doing that and then came back to Colombia, I was in my 30s. I really wanted to travel more. I had to come back to the US to get my citizenship because I had the green card. And that's basically at the moment that I needed to come and live here for several years. And I had a Land Cruiser at the time. I had an 80 series. And I was just like, well, I'm kind of already living in it. This thing is built because I need it to be built to go to the shoots that I'm going to, the ship it to Panama. Like, just drive it. And I was like, I thought I'm going to do that. So that's what I did. Not this one, no. I wish it was this one. Actually, I still have it, though. It's in Bozeman. It's in Montana.
Okay.
But, no, but then that was really cool because then at that point, overlanding was a thing. And then I was on Instagram and I made my Instagram important. As a photographer, I started noticing how clients were like, oh, how many followers do you have? And I was like, I don't know, 20. Like, and then I wouldn't get the jobs. It's like, this is so weird. And then I understood what they needed. So then I literally took Instagram like a job and I would work 4 hours a day, 6 months to grow it to like 20,000. And then I was like, okay, now I have an Instagram presence. And it really let me have jobs. Because it's really kind of like the presentation as a photographer. And you were talking about it earlier, like you like to put things that are positive in social media. So for me back then, social media isn't what it is now, definitely. But I really wanted to put things out there that first, it had my name on it. So I was like, I want it to be me for sure.
Yeah.
And then I want to put things that if people look at it, they get inspired to do things or feel better instead of like, oh, I'm never going to be that person, or, oh, I wish I was hotter, or I wish I was, that was my girlfriend, or that I looked like that, or whatever, which is really easy to do because it gives you like, it's like sugar, if you just put something cool and then everybody likes it.
Yeah.
But I try to be really mindful about being a creator in the platform and not a consumer in the platform at that time. So then I saw overlanding was a thing. Brands started being like, I ended up shooting for Oakley.
Okay.
And that started because they were like, oh, we want you to use our sunglasses because you do cool stuff. Because I was shooting nightlife, like concerts and DJs. And I told them like, I'm not going to use your sunglasses while I'm like, at a party.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, but we just want you, like, we want you to have it. Like lifestyle was becoming a thing. And I was like, sweet. And then started working with them. Then they very quickly were like, oh, you're a photographer. I was like, yeah, let's do photos. Then I started shooting for them. For me, it was always because my job was a photographer and a videographer. So when I would get calls from brands being like, we'll give you these for free, I was like, well, you kind of have to because you want me to shoot it.
Yeah.
You can pay me to shoot it and then you can come pick it up. I don't actually need the thing that you're trying to give me. And they're like, oh, okay, then we'll pay you and we'll give it to you. Okay, great.
Nice.
It's like understanding your worth in what you do because creating is an art.
Yes.
So that was good for me in that time. Overland became a thing. I was like, I started seeing overlanders in Colombia. I was like, okay, I'm going to ship this thing to Panama and go to the US in style. Just because why not? Like I'll surf all Central America, like see how that goes. I'll just do it by myself and whatever. Ended up getting a girlfriend in the interim of that time, which was great. And we ended up doing the trip together. But I remember just kind of seeing what I needed for the trip to be comfortable. And I didn't have the money or the time. And I remember just to tell people like I literally just got, what brands do I love? One of them was Tepui, which was from here.
Yep.
Which was Tense. They're no longer around. They got bought by Thule. It's like Tepui, obviously Oakley that I was working with, just all these brands that I liked. And I just went on their website and sent them emails. I was like, yo, I'm this person. I made like a really pretty presentation. I want to do this and I want $20,000. And they're like, well, we can't give you $1,000 and then we'll give you this and then we'll give you that. And literally all the brands said yes, dude. All of them said yes. Like I became like, they all started sponsoring me. Tepui had this thing called Ed's Adventure at the time. They were like, this is going to come up in a couple of months. Why don't you wait and apply? We can't guarantee that you'll get it because there's like people that are going to choose it. But I mean, wait. It's like, okay, I'll wait. And I was like, oh my God, like I need to get this and send that, got the thing, got the sponsorship, ended up spending all the money, importing all the things to Colombia because I needed it on my truck. And then, yeah, shipped it. Didn't have any money. Called my uncle for $2,000 to pay for the container. And he's like, how are you going to pay me back? I was like, I don't know. I'll pay you back. Like, I'll sell my truck. I don't know. I just need to do this. And then I got there and then photography gigs started happening. I was shooting for a coffee brand in San Diego. And
Which
they
one?
really helped. Bump. Yeah, they're in Encinitas.
Okay.
And they wanted some photos in farms that we kind of done before. And they really kind of like let me have kind of like a monthly stipend in a way to be able to go around. Then I had a girlfriend and she would also obviously put like half of the money for the trip. And that's really when it all clicked. I was like, oh, I'm living in my car now and I can do whatever I want. And I'm in Central America and I speak Spanish. It's pretty great. And the surf is good. And I never want this to end. And my girlfriend was like, she was like into yoga and stuff, which I started getting into as well. And I would tell her like, tell me where you want to go and I'll send an email. And before every country, I would send like 30 emails to 30 from hotels to hostels to whatever. Just being like, yo, I'm this person. This is my portfolio. I would love to do something with you. And to so many people would say yes. Then it would just be like a managing thing now. It's like, okay, we're going to stay these many nights here and then we're going to go in our cars. It was really like a 50-50 thing. We would stay in the car during the week and then stay somewhere during the weekend. So, cause I like to party so that we could be in a city and like meet people, meet travelers, meet the culture. They tell you what's going on. Cause someone's coming from the north, someone's coming from the south. They'd be like, oh, you got to go here. You got to do that. I just did this. This is cool. Like to your point about Yelp reviews and whatever, or like just looking on Google, local knowledge of today is the best.
Absolutely.
And then talking to all the overlanders because it was becoming a thing. Like iOverlander was becoming a thing. So then you would kind of collab with other people that were living in their cars and you would meet them, or you would just like, I remember getting to Panama, parking next to a Selena hostel. I went surfing and then I came back and some dude was talking to my girlfriend. I was like, this is not, like, I don't want to deal with this. And then I got there and he was super nice. He's a super nice Australian guy. He's like, yo, I'm Australian, love your rig. Like we have a bunch of Toyotas over there. This is my girlfriend. We just got to Panama. They were super nice. We ended up partying in Selena. And then I woke up the next morning and I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, should we ask them if they want to travel with us? They're so nice. I was like, yeah, you should. So I went and looked for them. I was like, oh no, they left. And I saw them in the distance and I went running. And I was like, yo, what's up, Mitch? I don't know if we have a car. We're going north. He was going north as well. Do you want to like get in our rig and like travel? And they were like, oh, we wanted to ask you too. And then we ended up like traveling with these people for 3 weeks around Panama. And I love them to death. And he ended up being a professional downhill rider that's written with Marcelo, which is the Red Bull rider that I used to shoot in Colombia. So we actually had a bunch of things in common. The guy's like a professional mountain biker.
Wow.
Still one of my best friends today. So it's just kind of those experiences you only get when you're actually put yourself in a situation that there's a lot of people around you. But then it was really fun to, during the week, kind of be on the beach and do your thing and cook in your car, and you learn how to have all your things tidy. And my 80 didn't look like this at all. It was like a normal 80 seaters with pop-up, rooftop tent. It had like a premise kind of cooking setup in the back. I did everything with just like plywood and oil, so it was easy to slide. It was very DIY.
Nice. That's all you need though.
That's all you need. And that was the beauty of it. Like I really see all these things because obviously my rig now has a lot. It's really been a process, and I try to tell that to people. You definitely don't need all these things to do whatever it is that you end up wanting to do. You just got to get out there. Like the number one thing you need to do is get out there in whatever vehicle you have, walking, like whatever, camping. It doesn't matter, because I see so much when people get into overlanding and they buy $100,000 Sprinter van or a really cool rig or like the truck that everybody's getting or like a Tacoma on, that they're still paying to the bank and they put all this thing on it. And I'm like, you realize that $5,000 suspension and rims you just put on your car is like 6 months in Mexico. And the car came with a suspension, rims, and tires. Like you can just use that money to the thing you want to do.
Yeah.
And then as things grow and evolve and stuff, as I said, I've been very lucky with the life that I lived and the brands that I've worked with and what I've done to kind of have this by now, but it's definitely not necessary. It's nice.
Yeah, it's nice for what you're doing right now too, kind of posting up down here, working on your business, which we'll get into in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys were in Panama, and then where did that trip
Oh, yeah.
end up?
So we ended up doing all of Central, just going all the way up.
Wow.
She ended up having to fly back home at some point during the trip.
Was she American?
No, she was from London.
London?
Mhm. Yeah, she was
Okay.
English. And we knew that, like she had a time frame. So she left and I stayed on the trip. And towards the end, which was all Central America, it was like, I have a million stories around all
I'm
the
sure.
countries, obviously.
Yeah.
Great surf, great time, great food, wild time, so fun. God, wish I was doing it right now.
Panama City?
Everything, yeah. Oof, bro. Central America is fun. The waves, dude, the waves are too good. Yeah, it was a good time. But anyway, I ended up doing that for a year. And then I thought I was going to ship my car back to Colombia to then just sell it in Colombia and kind of move to the US because that was the whole point of the trip. And then that became very hard to do, very apparent. It was really hard to do from Mexico just because of different laws that they have. If your car gets into the country in a certain way, as in overland, like over the road, it has to leave in the same way. It can't leave over the ocean
Overseas? Yeah.
or on a plane or whatever. So that, then I was like, oh, I can't do that. And then I was like, oh, I'll ship it to, like, I'll drive it into the US and then I'll ship it from the US. And then I did that. And then I went to like the import person. Because remember I told you I was a distributor in Colombia. So I already knew about like import, export laws. Like I got pretty good schooling on that because I would ship containers to Colombia.
Yeah.
And then when we were doing that, I was like, kind of got all the paperwork and they were like, what vessel did your car come in? And I was like, well, I drove it in. And I was like, okay, let me explain it this way. A box doesn't drive itself into the United States. So you got to drive your car. I'm going to cut you some slack. You got to drive back to Mexico and put your car in a box and bring it into the United States. So I had to put it in a flatbed, like car, whatever, with all the paperwork to import it as an item. It had Medellin plates. I got shot at from the cartels in like Laredo, in the Mexican side of Texas, like on the other side of the border. So I had to like hide the car for 3 days while things like cooled down, just because it was Medellin, drugs, the whole thing. I obviously didn't have any drugs, but just because my car had literal Medellin plates, which is not the best when you travel around Central America in a Land Cruiser from the 90s. And then I ended up having to get another truck that was covered to put my car in because no one wanted to touch my car anymore. They're like, I don't want to drive your Colombian car. So anyway, ended up getting to the US. Then I was going to ship it through Corpus Christi, which is a port in the south of Texas. Got everything, paid for everything, got there. And then that day that I was there, giving the keys to the person to put it in the container, they were like, oh, we can't do this because you're a resident and there's this law and you just lost all your money. You got to take your car back. Like, this is so hard.
Headache.
Yeah. So I ended up just like legalizing in the US. I ended up just being like, whatever, I'll just put American plates on it, which was a pain in the ass, but it's definitely doable. So yeah, that trip ended there. I was in Texas doing all that. And then right when I was getting done, COVID started. And then
To be clear, you're trying to ship your car from America or ship it into America?
I was trying to ship it from America. So I did all of
I
Central
see.
America driving, cross into the United States.
Got it.
I was trying to ship it back at the end of my trip. Because Land Cruisers weren't worth anything back then. So I was like, I'd rather send it to Colombia, sell it there, and then with this money buy whatever.
Yeah. Probably worth like $4 or $5 grand at the time.
Yeah,
if
at the
that.
time it was worth nothing.
Like a V8, big old, no one wanted that.
Yeah, whatever. So I ended up importing to the United States, putting plates on it. Before I could put plates, COVID happened. So then I was like stuck with my cousin. That's actually where the coffee company started that I work for right now during COVID. But I was there. My car didn't have any plates. I couldn't drive it. I was just kind of stuck. I didn't have any money. I was trying to get to California, to like SoCal, to work in photography and videography in LA, which I already was kind of doing whenever I would, do things. But then, just waiting. Eventually Georgia opened, like Georgia, the state. So I drove to Georgia, got plates in Georgia for my car. And around that time, someone that worked at Tepui posted on Instagram, on GFC's Instagram, that they were looking for a mechatronic engineer. And then the next slide was they were looking for a driver. So I texted her and I was like, what are you, like, I'm kind of interested. And she's like, which job? And I was like, honestly, the driving one. Like, I don't want to be an engineer. And she's like, cool, we need a delivery person to like deliver the GFCs all over the country and whatever. We're in Bozeman, Montana, which for me was like Texas with ice. I was like, do I want to go to like some weird town in the middle of nowhere full of snow and like hillbillies and, gringos? I don't know. But there was nothing to do. So I called a couple friends of mine that are really good photographers that travel the world, but they're American. And they were both like, bro, no one has a job. Go. It's fun. You'll like Bozeman. I was like, well, screw it. Fuck it. So I went up there. I interviewed for the job, got the job, got there, drove my car. I don't want to segue into the story, but at that moment I had a 1993 Previa that I converted into a other living car.
Sure.
With $200. Because I wanted to sell my truck. I was like, I need money. Like, I don't need a Land Cruiser, which it's exactly my point. Like, I love the car, but to me, everything you have in life that's material serves a purpose. At that moment, that car wasn't serving any purpose. It's just an expensive thing sitting on a driveway that I did not need anymore because I wasn't overlanding anymore. So I was like, I need to get rid of this. And that van, that's $300. That's great. So I did the van.
Nice.
Got there in the van, woke up, 12 inches of snow, and I was like, I need a truck. So I ended up flying to Georgia, picking up my Land Cruiser, driving it there, because I was like, I actually do need a 4x4. I had no idea what Bozeman was.
Sure. And the Previa wasn't the all-wheel drive or anything?
It wasn't the all-wheel drive one, no. I love that car. I wish I still had it. It was so fun. I ended up living in that car for a year in Bozeman.
The Previa?
Yeah. Yeah, because he had a bed, he had a little heater, it had a Mr. Body heater. Yeah, it was great. And I was like, broke. It's like, whatever. So I ended up working for Go Fast Campers. That's how that whole thing started. Doing something that they had at the time, which was called White Glove. Driving around the country, installing campers. I had like a Tundra with a big trailer with like 8 campers. And they wanted someone that was like mechanically inclined and was in the overlanding space, because then you can talk to the clients about what they wanted to do. And I don't know, that like to travel, that like to be on the road.
Yeah, you're perfect for that.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, pick me. So I did that for about a year. We ended up automizing it, but we ended up making the process of that whole thing a lot easier, which made it not fun anymore. And I had a conversation with Graham, which is the owner of the company, still is, but at the time I talked to him and I told him, like, we're wasting a lot of time doing all these things. We can make a program that can make these automatic on like finding client, all these things. So he was like, let's do it. So we got someone to program. I know how to write algorithms, but I don't program anymore. So anyway, this person, she's really good. She's really good. Her name is Kelly. And she just made this program that you had like the map of the US. You could put a zip code and it would tell us our clients around like a radius. And then I would just call them and like, I don't know, kind of set up the trips. And then it was very obvious that it was like, we should just have like install location instead of going to a person's house. I would pick a spot and then everybody would drive there, made everything cheaper. But then it wasn't fun anymore because I was going to like Las Vegas and then whatever.
The big towns.
New York.
Sacramento, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, it's not fun. So I told them like, I'm done. And then they were like, oh, we actually want a product development engineer. So why don't you come and do that? So anyway, long story short, I ended up staying in Bozeman for like 3.5 years, working for Go Fast for about 3 of those years. First as a driver, then as an engineer, which was super fun to be an engineer there because we had all the CNC machines and anything you could ever imagine you wanted to make, draw it and you can make it. And I got to like bring all that engineering knowledge that I had, plus all the creative thinking that I've had from like video and photo, plus all the traveling that I've done in cars. I knew exactly what accessories I wanted.
Perfect again.
Oh, so fun. So that was really fun. But then I had to be in an office, and then I was like, dude, I'm not doing like my purpose. Like, this is not what I want to do. Like, I want to meet people. I want to meet cultures. I want to inspire people to like live outside, I guess. Either outside in the outside world or outside of their zone, or just, I don't know, just kind of do the thing that really makes you tick. And I wasn't really doing that from an office myself.
Yeah.
So I became really depressed, didn't like my life, started gaining weight, it's just like, I learned how to snowboard, which was great because obviously there's no surf in Montana.
River surfing?
Yeah. That's like, people would be like, oh, get into river surfing. And I would tell skiers, like, do you do cross-country ski? And they're like, hell no, I do, downhill. Exactly. Yeah. River surfing is to a surfer like cross-country skiing. It's not, they both happen on a board in water, but if you know how to surf in the ocean, it's fun
to try.
Yeah. I never did. Good for you. I just like, nah, I'll just go snowboarding.
I needed to surf so bad. It was the only option. I was like, all right, the river it is.
That's hilarious. But, anyway, I was not happy. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to move. Like, I'm going to go to California and do the thing. Because then I just became comfortable. At that time, then I had like a house, I had a place. I was making good money.
Sure.
But I felt like I was broke somehow. I was just buying stuff that I didn't need or want. Like, I just like went from arriving in the U.S. in a Land Cruiser. So imagine the amount of stuff that I had to like, it couldn't fit in my house. I was like, okay, I'm like verging in the wrong direction. So I was just like, I'm quitting. Like, I can't do this anymore. And they're like, oh, no, but wait, we need a marketing director. Or like someone to shoot video and photos and stuff. Like, we really want to push this, so you should do it. I was like, screw it. This sounds fun. Let's do it. So then I don't even know what I ended up doing for them at the end. But I was like, at the beginning, I was like going to be creating the brand. But then someone came in to do that. And then they needed someone to shoot. So I kind of did that. And then they wanted storytelling. So I did that. It was very convoluted at the time.
Yeah. They need like a brand ambassador, a brand builder.
It was like, just a lot of things. Yeah. Which is fair. Like, not to their, it wasn't really their fault. It was just kind of what was happening. And I needed more structure in my professional life with the content. Like, if I was going to spend 40 hours a week creating content, I wanted to create content that I felt I was proud of the content that we made at Go Fast, but just that I wanted to create, like, that I think would move the world towards the direction that I want the world to go in.
Yeah. This episode is fueled by Afuera Coffee. Afuera Coffee. Do good, go Afuera. Afuera means outside in Spanish, and I couldn't think of a better partner for our coffee that would fuel all these podcast episodes and adventures. Not only does Afuera Coffee give 5% back to organizations that keep the outdoors pristine, they have sustainably sourced coffee beans, and all of their packaging is compostable. With coffee names like Sunrise Sessions, Morning Gratitude, and Black Gold, it's sure to fuel any adventure you have in store for the day. So do good, go Afuera. Use code SmallTruckCampers at checkout for 10% off.
And I wasn't feeling that. Not that it was going in the wrong direction. It was just not what I would want to spend that time on. And then I kind of went back to like, I was happy on the beach when I was 17, eating rice and beans. And when I was backpacking around Colombia, when I was in my car in Portugal, when I was in Central America, like on a beach doing nothing. Do I need these? Do I need these? I'm doing all these things. Like, not really. But if you don't stop, you'll never have the space to be able to walk into that space. So I was like, guys, I'm done. So stop that whole project with them, or not the project. I mean, I just quit. And I have bought this Land Cruiser in Idaho.
So you didn't take the marketing gig?
I took it for like 6 months.
Okay.
It just didn't work.
Yeah. You were being creative for someone else's vision.
Yeah.
Not for your own.
Yeah. Yeah. You could put it that way.
I think that's a hard part about being like in a marketing position is like, oh, I'm creative. I want to work in marketing, but it's so hard to be creative when it's like not your thing. Like, I'm creative for my thing, but I'm not creative for like someone else's like vision, So yeah.
I think I got into a point where, I've worked with so many brands and so many things. When I had the production company in Colombia, we would make commercials for tissue paper, like whatever. That was our thing. And it was really fun because the exercise of telling a story, it's an incredible thing to be able to do. And once you get good at it, it's a really fun thing because like humans, we are storytelling creatures. So it's really nice once you crack that code and you understand how all that works. But then you kind of have the yin yang, like you can use it for bad and you can promote Coca-Cola, which it's obviously not good for anyone. Or you can promote like something that's really good for you because you crack the code so you can make people want it.
Yes.
So then I was just, I don't know, I just kind of really wanted to be selective around the things that I wanted to create content around. And as I said, like this is a go fast, this is like a Frankenstein go fast. So I love their product. I love the company. I enjoy my time there a lot. I made incredible friends there. And it was a great crew of people. They're an amazing company and I have nothing but respect and gratitude for the time that I was there. I just wanted to do something completely different in another way with my creative space and my time. So that's kind of why that ended up stopping. But I had bought this Land Cruiser in Idaho 2 years prior of me quitting because I was like, oh, I'm going to chop it and I work for Go Fast and we can use all our tools and cut it and whatever. And then 2 years down the road, car was just sitting there. The engine didn't work. That's why I got it. It was really cheap. And I just didn't have the time. And the time that I did have, because I was working so much for like the corporate America, I was like, all I want to do is sit down and have a beer, which is not healthy for anybody. It's just like, dude. And then the day that I quit, which was like the middle of the winter, I grabbed a grinder and just cut the thing in half. I was like, cool, now I have time. Middle of the winter. It's -5 outside. Screw it. Let's go. And then I just started doing it.
And that's what we're sitting in now.
That's what we're sitting in now, yeah. So
what year is this car?
This is a 96. It's actually a Lexus. So
it's a Lexus?
Technically a Lexus LX 450, which is a Land Cruiser.
Yeah, same.
Same exact thing.
And how many miles are on it? Ish?
I mean, it has 0 now because I ended up shipping a short block from Toyota Japan into the US and rebuilding the entire engine in my storage unit from scratch.
In Montana?
In Montana, in the winter. It was horrible.
So you got this thing and it wasn't running?
It wasn't running, I thought. So I towed it with my other Land Cruiser through Idaho into Bozeman around the Snake River, which was sick. Like around Stanley, Idaho. If you guys have never gone, go to Stanley, Idaho. It's super fun. Best 4th of July I've ever had in my life was there. Jesus Christ. I literally flat towed it with my truck.
Wow.
I welded this thing in the front and just towed it with my Land Cruiser all the way to Bozeman at 45 miles an hour for like a day and a half. Because I thought it wasn't running. And then I kind of got it running. And then the noise in the engine was like, it's either valves or a bearing. I don't know, whatever. And after doing some digging, I was like, okay, this engine definitely needs to be replaced. But I drove it that way for like 6 months. But it was very underpowered. Till I finally found the short block in Japan for a 4.5, 1FZ. And I just shipped it from Japan and then took mine out, redid everything, bought the manual. That's why it's nice to be an engineer. I bought the manual from Toyota from a dealer and then just went, step 1, take this bolt out. Step 2, pray to God, you do that. Step 3, make a circle, so you do that. Like whatever the manual says, you just do that. And then after a while, you have an engine that runs like new.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I loved it. Yeah. So miles on the car. I mean, the car when I had 250,000.
Okay.
But again, the engine is basically new now. And then I ended up flying to Colombia to find a supercharger.
Yeah. Wow.
From a bulletproof car from a drug dealer. So I flew there and took it off from a drug dealer's car that was bulletproof. He didn't want it anymore. Then I flew back with a supercharger in my back, saying that it was just car parts, which they were, but they were used and it was a supercharger. So it's great. So it's supercharged, the already supercharger in there, which makes it run a lot better with all these weight that I have in the back.
And what was the vision? Why didn't you just go for like a Tundra or something?
It's because of I knew that I wanted to travel the world in this car, or that I want to. And Tundras are an American car. Unfortunately, they're made in the US, which makes them not the best Toyota out there. Just because they're just different standards of how they make him in Japan,
Mhm.
where they make him anywhere else in the world. Like my other Land Cruiser is Colombian. It's not as good as a Japanese one.
Yeah.
So nothing against the US, just if it's made in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And I knew Land Cruiser so well because I already traveled in one for years. So
I
I
see.
literally knew every bolt. I knew how to, like, bear in mind, when I started working on cars, I didn't even know you had to like top off the radiator. I was not car inclined at all. And then through traveling on my car braking, I got more into it. I do like mechanical stuff. So then I just kind of fell in love with it. But it was just an easy choice for me. It was first, I know how to work in 80s. They're very easy to work on. They are one of the most reliable vehicles you can buy. They're all over the world, so you can always get parts. And they look sick.
Most importantly.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
These things look so cool.
It does.
And it's also kind of the process of when you build something, you can always buy it. But if you build it, it's like that process of building it, it's so cool.
It is.
So I just wanted to build something that was my own. And I did go through, like, it honestly makes more sense to get a Tundra. 1000%.
Yeah.
Like, it's already chopped.
Turnkey. Yeah.
Yeah, you just take the back. You can still build this thing, which you still will,
Yeah.
and then put it on. More power, better gas mileage, way better. But for me, simplicity is like 80s are simple. Well, yeah,
Got it.
it's just simple, bulletproof for traveling the world, which is the point of these cars. It's actually nice that you mentioned that or that you asked that question, because I find that should be the first question people ask themselves whenever they want to do like an overlanding rig, is what are you actually going to use it for? And it doesn't matter if you're going to use it to go to Whole Foods and buy, mushrooms and food and wine, and then on the weekends once a month go do something. That's completely fine. Just get a vehicle that's going to do that really well. So don't get a humongous truck with 40-inch tires and lift it 6 inches.
Yeah. Like a RAV4 or something.
Yeah, you can get a way smaller thing. Now the market has so many options in the overland space. You can get, like, Go Fast used to have the super light. Now
Mhm.
there's other options in the market, because I don't think they make it anymore. But that can make it really light, so you still get good gas mileage. You still get out there, because once you get there, then you can start enjoying. Like,
Yeah.
getting out there is so fun. Like right now, I do love driving my car. But even right now, we're in a parking lot looking at the ocean. It's actually getting a lot better. Wind's down. It's not raining anymore, which is great.
Tides dropping.
But now that we're sitting, this is what I want to feel like.
Yeah.
This is why I built these cars,
Sure.
to make community, have friends, be able to look outside while I sit down. So I had a very clear vision of what I wanted
Got
when I
it.
built this. And that's why everything on it, like the espresso machine, the height of the cab is because of that espresso machine.
I see.
I couldn't build this car till I got that espresso machine in Copenhagen. Before that, I didn't know the height. It's like, how high is it going to be? It's like, I don't know. I need my espresso machine. Because if my espresso machine doesn't fit, then I can't use the car.
Mm-hmm.
So I always think it's like, really look at what you want. If I wasn't thinking of leaving the US in this car, I would have 100% probably got a Tundra.
Yeah.
Because it's great for the US. So that's why I did that. And yeah, it was just fun. I also had a bunch of friends, not a bunch. I knew some people in Australia. This is very common in Australia to chop 80s. So I just kind of was, on a wormhole on Instagram looking at chopped 80s. I was like, oh, that's going to be sick. So I just really wanted to do it. And I didn't see it as a hard thing to do. I was just like, you just got to start doing it. At the end of the day, it's just a bunch of bolts, and then you learn I learned how to weld for this project. I was like, cool, this doesn't work. You got to put it here. I do have a mechatronic engineering degree, so I know math, and like, okay, this is going to break, this is not going to break. Like, let's look at this. I had a lot of help from friends, obviously, but then that's why I kind of chose this configuration of an 80 series that is chopped. It's worked out great. You do not want to go over 65 miles an hour in it, because you feel like you're going to die on every turn on 17 going to San Jose. So it's really just, it's to get places. It gets horrible gas mileage, but once you're there, you're chilling.
Mm-hmm.
And I made some choices for myself. Like, that table is real marble.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the floor is real oak floor. That's like sustainably sourced from Oregon. Like, it's heavy.
Yeah.
But I love having my espresso on a real piece of marble. I feel like I'm in Italy, I love standing up without my shoes on and touching wood instead of some, vinyl stuff. I needed everything. I made all these counters made out of steel, not aluminum, because I don't know how to weld aluminum.
Yeah.
So this is what I know how to do. Everything is sturdy, so you can like have a DJ party in here and like nothing's gonna break, which is very important. I wanted to be able to sleep sideways, so that's why it's the width. Like everything has a very specific purpose of why it was made this. Because if you're gonna do a custom to you, have a reason why everything's gonna be there, and like the reason could just be because it looks sick, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, why is that there? Because it looks cool. Sweet, that's the reason why it's there. Amazing.
Is this topper? Is this a Go Fast?
Yeah. So the top, it's kind of like a combination of things. It's a V2 frame that was custom with. I mean, just custom every single size.
Did you help design it?
I designed it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they helped me cut it because I don't know how to run their CNC machines. And then the tent, it's a V1 tent. Because I already had a V1 and I find it easier to fix if it breaks somewhere where you can't have parts. If I was in the US, I think a V2 top was sick. Like their V2 solution is great. But I was like, this is just, you know, a more rudimentary, heavier version. And as I said, I literally just already had it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of made it wider. You can tell like on the tent, there's like, you know, that width, that part, that's just fabric that I put on.
Wow.
I need it to be wider.
Yeah.
And just kind of things like that. But yeah, it's kind of like but it definitely Go Fast, like from the middle up. I basically build like a truck bed on the back and then made a Go Fast accordingly to those sizes. And then the side entry, which was important to me.
Very important.
Because I couldn't get up on the back because my surfboards live here. Like I have 2 surfers back here. That fit in this little space, plus my bike, plus like the diesel heater thing. There's like there's an AC unit down here from Zero Breeze. There's a heater here as well. And I wanted to have this community. Like I wanted you to get in
like
and
the
be
horseshoe.
in this space. Yeah. I really wanted that.
The flow.
Yeah, it's all about the flow. Huge. You know the thing that I really made me fall in love with the Go Fast solution was I don't know what they call it now, but they used to call it cabana mode. And it's what we're experiencing right now. Like you feel like you're outside.
Absolutely.
Anywhere you look, you're looking outside.
I love it.
I know. It's so great. Because that was my main thing when I was traveling. Before I had any overlanding setup, I would always, you know, you have your shitty tent somewhere on the beach. It's really hot. So you're forced never to be in your tent unless you're sleeping. So you're forced to like meet a bunch of people, mingle with people, get experiences. It inevitably you find something to do, so you end up doing it. And then I would see people in their campers, just in their campers, always around their campers, just like a little camping thing. It's like that doesn't sound fun. Like they're just kind of there. Like they could be doing that where they're not where they are. They're just in their little space.
I had a pretty big cab over before, this little Capri.
Yeah, your Capri is sick, by the way.
Thank you.
That thing is so cool.
It's like, talk about minimalist.
Dude, perfect. How much does that thing weigh?
Advertised like 6, 7.
Really?
Not a whole lot. Yeah, it probably weighs about 8. It has an AC on. You know, you can get it without AC. You can get it without. I put a fridge in it, so I got a 5-pound liquid propane tank as well. But you could probably shave off 100 pounds just axing those things. It's pretty lightweight.
What's liquid propane?
Just like a propane tank for the heater.
Oh, it's called liquid propane?
On the side, yeah. LP.
Crazy.
It is liquid propane.
Oh, yeah, you're right. God, I should know that.
It's so compressed.
Jesus. Yeah, fair enough.
It's a liquid.
Sweet. That's actually funny because like on this, I had a Mr. Body heater on my other one.
Yeah.
And then when I was building this one, like to the point that we were making earlier, I was like, I want one energy source. So I only want electricity. I have really nice solar panels. I have an induction cooktop. And then
I saw that, yeah.
And then every like AC runs on 24 volt from the Zero Breeze like Hive that they have. They have like this combo. It's like that energy unit plus the AC and they kind of work together. But yeah, I really wanted everything I wanted one source of fuel. Yeah. I guess I have 2 because then I have the diesel that I have. The heater that I have is diesel for the purpose of high elevation.
Sure.
It's better to have a diesel one than a gasoline one. And I would advise everyone to save up money and buy the real German ones.
The Webasto's or the S-Bar.
Yeah, I have 100%. An S-Bar. The $200 Chinese ones, I would not put that in my car if someone paid me to. You can burn your car down. And
I get it. They're cheaper.
Yeah.
And I had one of my old rig.
Yeah.
And it was so finicky. It was like fingers crossed if it works,
No.
especially at higher elevation.
Yeah,
and there's
exactly.
ways you can tune it and get around all that, but it's so
Mhm.
hard with the interface, and it's in broken English or Chinese. It's just, I wish,
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I wish I'd have spent $1,000 on the
Yeah.
Webasto.
Yeah. Just
Be
save a
done with
little
it.
bit more.
And the
you know?
control interface is a lot easier.
Yeah, it's great. It's right here. It's
Yeah.
really good.
But I hear you about like one energy source, just
Mhm.
streamlining it, make it simple.
Yeah.
So that's super cool. Tell me about what you got going on now in San Francisco.
Oh yeah. So I ended up coming to the Bay Area because I got called by a startup in San Francisco. It started at Stanford. It's called the Cold Brew Project, and it's cold brew on tap in offices at the moment, B2B, and it's all locally sourced in Colombia, locally as in Colombia because I'm Colombian. We source it all from there, but we literally know the farmer by first name. We went there to look at their process to help them because the whole point of the company is to actually make an impact on their life so that they cannot get out of poverty. Because just like, I want to make money here in Santa Cruz to buy a house that looks at the beach, that's why I'm in business. I want to make money and have stuff,
Sure.
a house, a life, whatever. They might want a car, they might want a pool. They also want things. So it's like, to me is, well, you're helping me get what I need in the US. Let me help you as well. Like, let me pay you enough so you can actually get these things instead of like, this is the minimum that I'll like, as like cut it super tight, which is kind of what happens with most farmers, mostly in developing countries. So we're really kind of verging the gap on that, and we're paying them super well. We only buy from specific farms so that there is an actual chunk of money that goes to them instead of buying from like, 20 different ones and then they don't really see the impact. And then we can also fine tune our flavor profile or roasting. We roast locally here. We ship everything. We import it through Oakland and then pick it up there. It gets roasted locally, gets grinded locally, gets made into cold brew locally, our own kitchen facility. We, keg it ourselves, goes and it's on tap, like in a kegerator at different offices. So yeah, it's going well. We're in different offices already in the Bay Area, which is really cool. We're on like, right now we're doing our first round of friends and family startup money. So if anybody wants to invest, let me know. You can find me on Instagram. But yeah, it's really cool. And I really love it because it's kind of what we were talking about earlier. Like, this gives me a purpose that I really love. Coffee brings people together. It's, the second biggest import of Colombia. Is the second most drank beverage in the world after water. And it's beautiful. It's like, it comes from the land. You have it every morning. We just had one earlier. I made Spencer one in my little machine from Italy. And it's just a beautiful thing that you get to share with someone that experience of having something that comes from the land. And it's so crazy that there's like a disconnect between everything that we eat and do comes from the earth, and we kind of like don't understand.
Don't think about it. Yeah, and if you guys listen to the podcast I had on my previous podcast episode, we went Matt, the founder of Afuera Coffee, based in El Salvador, but we really got into why it's important to have like single origin coffee, rainforest Alliance certified if you can, and supporting that local farmer versus like what the big brands do, which is kind of just gather beans from wherever, grind them up, and it's like you can taste the difference
and then burn them so they all taste the same.
Yeah, but you can taste the difference with. It's like craft beer. It's like anything high quality. You can really taste the difference. With like a good coffee, I only really need one of those, but I need like 4 cups of a Folgers to like. It's just crazy. There's such a difference there, and then you're putting it into your body, and that's really cool to hear that you guys are trying to make an impact as well down in Colombia on these farmers' lives who, for probably centuries, they've been farming and didn't know. Maybe not centuries, but I
always tell people, like, when you think of, if someone tells you, if you're here in California and someone's like, oh, what do you do? And you say, oh, I farm grapes and I make wine. They're probably rich. Like, they're Napa. They're like, they have a winery. You don't think, oh, you're poor because you're farming grapes. But if someone tells you, oh yeah, I farm coffee and I have a coffee farm, you're like, okay, you're some farmer somewhere in the far, far away land, like whatever. So we really want them to, and we're seeing it already. Like, they are. Last time we went there, the guy had a brand new Land Cruiser, and we're like, sick.
It's working.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me help you. What do you want? Oh, I want to send my kid to school. Just do that.
Yeah.
But not just to school. We want her to come back and help you set up a manufacturing facility here for your coffee.
Yeah. Vertically integrated. Let's
yeah,
go.
so that you make more money instead of your kid going to study engineering and then working from some random company in Colombia. Like,
Totally.
no, come back and like develop the entire process, just like a winery. They don't sell their grapes.
Mhm.
They make their wine to the bottle
Yeah.
to sell to you so that they keep all that money, which is amazing. It's great for them. Everybody wins. You get a great wine, they get a great life. So we're really working in that space, and that's what we want. But in reality, we do all that work. What we need from our consumers is drink it because it makes you feel good, it tastes good, you want caffeine, and we'll do the rest. Like Patagonia, Patagonia is doing all the things that they do. You just need something that keeps you warm and works.
Yep.
You know?
They're taking care of everything behind the scenes.
Yeah, it's like, even if you want to or not, that's what we're spending our money on. So that's what the company is. So I came in as kind of like a marketing director, executive, I don't even know, CM, whatever. Kind of getting the brand on point, but then I thankfully have all this production background with manufacturing and just...
And you're from Colombia, so you kind of know the lay of the land.
Yeah, and I know how to import, export. So
Yeah.
then I'm just kind of helping different fronts right now, kind of getting the operations to be lean. I'm also like a Lean Six Sigma certified engineer, so that helps with them. And yeah, just kind of, it's a startup, so everybody's doing a lot of things, and it's beautiful. It's like it's already going really well. We're getting the process down. We're like looking for a new facility now to build our own like manufacturing from scratch, which is great, like as in making the cold brew, and it tastes really good, honestly. Like it does taste amazing, and it's naturally sweet, so then it's got 0 calories and you don't need sugar. If you want, you can put sugar and milk in it, whatever, but you know, it is a really good cup of coffee. So pretty stoked on that.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And any future travel plans?
Funny you say, because I thought I was going to take this thing around the world, and here I am in a parking lot looking at the waves, driving it to, you know, Trader Joe's to buy food later. I would like to do some travel plans, but as I was saying earlier, I do think that there's a great gain in understanding how to live in the moment and take advantage of the decisions that life, the choices that life puts in front of you, and like actually make decisions around them. And this is the one that I made to be here in California, Bay Area, Santa Cruz, whatever you want to call it. Very grateful that I'm able to come back to a place that I felt I grew up in, just because I went to high school here. Enjoying the waves. So for now, I'm here and I'm happy here. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would love to go to Australia. I had never been there. My friend right now is in Bali. He sent me videos of waves. I've never been to Bali. My birthday's in April. I want to go back to Colombia. You know, like I always have things, but...
Things that get you excited for the future.
Yeah, that gets me excited for the future. But like huge travel plans, no.
Yeah.
But since I built the truck to do it, that was kind of my point. Like when I built it, I didn't have a specific plan. And my friends would ask me that a lot. And I'm always like, once I know the plan, it's ready to go.
Sure.
If I wait till I know the plan to start, I'm kind of 3 years behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see.
Be patient, see what happens. But you're in a good spot right now. I mean, physically, we're in a good spot.
Yeah.
But also, there's different ways you can get adventure out of life.
Yeah.
And
totally.
I think like working for like a startup or a company that you like believe in is one of those ways that you can kind of dedicate your time and get a feeling of like impact and like excitement, you know?
For sure.
Especially building a small brand like that. It's exciting.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And then also just kind of being thankful like to everything that's around. Like half of the things in this car is sponsored because of what I've done before, graces of these companies to like help me with the things. Same with my clothing. Like there's a really cool Colombian brand called Ocho from my friend Ochoa. This is like Beringia, which is a super cool brand from Santa Cruz. And
cool.
And they really love all these things. So they're like, yeah, just keep doing that. Like we'll help you. Everyone will help you be you.
Yes.
But then if you're trying to be someone else, they're very quickly changed once someone else is better than whatever you're trying to.
Yep. There's only one of you.
Yeah. So just try to do you, like those jobs, like kind of on the story that I've been telling about my life. You kind of said it a couple of times, like, oh, it's perfect for who you are. Right? Oh, that's another like that's, I just did my thing. I wasn't trying to look for like, what job can I get once I become a photographer, creative director, and engineer? Like, what are going to be my employment options? Like, no, that's just what I want to do.
Yeah.
So let's just do that, and then something's going to happen.
Amazing.
Thanks, man.
Awesome. Well, David, stoked we got to chat. It was
Yeah,
a
man.
great to hear your story.
Thanks.
And I think we should go see what the surf's doing.
Yeah, let's look. Hopefully it's better than this morning. This morning was,
Yeah.
but it's definitely.
Sometimes you just got to go for a paddle.
I did go out there and yeah, took a couple on the head, but maybe I'm getting better as I look at it through my camper.
We'll go check it out. Well, thanks again, man. That was an awesome conversation, and looking forward to what's next.
Yeah, man. Thanks for your time. I love what you're doing. I heard a couple of your podcasts even before you spotted me on this same
Oh, yeah.
parking lot a couple of weeks ago. And I love that there's a platform where people can go. I like the name. I like the logo. You just gave me some stickers, which were sick. Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this. It's really nice to have a platform where people can go and like hear real stories of what it's
Exactly.
like and
Yeah.
what people, just a more real take on what it is instead of just, going on some Instagram or some brand and then you see these amazing rings they don't know it. And it's like, oh, I can never do that. It's like, no, you can. Once you hear people's story, you realize it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah. And it doesn't happen overnight. And they weren't like professionals at it. They just went for it.
Totally.
But it's a combination of the two, and anyone is capable, and it doesn't matter. Back to like, just go. I've always thought, like, in my mind, the perfect Baja rig is like a Toyota Corolla because there's parts in every corner.
Dude,
they're front wheel drive, and it's, just got to go with what you got.
Maybe that's what we should do next.
Yeah.
But yeah, all I want to do is I want to be professional being David. That's
Perfect.
all. That's all. Just be professional being you.
Yeah.
Then everything else will follow.
Right on, brother. Thank you.